Some folks that are in my life are a good place in their lives. And they're asking this question: why is my life in such shambles? Why can't I seem to get it together? My health is the worst it's ever been. My finances are almost not even there, as they put it. And my relationships are out of whack with everyone. I asked for forgiveness for my sins long ago, and I believe I was freed, but since then everything has fallen apart. Everything seems to be falling apart. I don't understand. Has God forsaken me? Several different people fall in under this. If you're here and you feel like you fall in under that, it's not because I'm putting you there. This is a specific thing that has been put to me, and the only way I knew, because they don't talk to me. And whether it's through shame or what, but this is the best way I knew how to help them and to maybe help some of you. If you're going through anything that's even has any of that in it, that you can maybe feel a sense of freedom tonight. You know, the truth shall make you. There's so much to that. But here, I want to start right here, and I got a lot of scriptures to do. I'm going to be watching the clock, I promise, because I don't want to keep you 1 minute after 8 o'clock, because I know we need to fellowship and we need to be with the kids. And so if I get to going past it, you let me know. But I want to talk fast, and I want to be able to help you. Is it not on? Oh, I bet you this one here will help you. That one will help you, I bet. I got that one for Miss Joyce, and she says she can hear with it, so I'm sure that you can. So, as a pastor, I seek the joy of others. The ways that I preach, but it may be when I am up there, I can try my darndest to be calm, and I want everybody to know that I care about them, but it will come out in a way that's maybe chastising you. And it's not. I'm chastising me too. Believe I'm no better than anybody else in here. I'm not. And so, as a pastor, I seek the joy of others. And when I see other people that are not experiencing joy, and not just physical joy, because physical joy, it only lasts as long as the physical thing lasts. That comes with the understanding of what the power of God lies in your life. It is forgiveness. The power of God can only be evident in your life if there's complete and total forgiveness. I'm going to build on that. And I'm thinking specifically of some folks in my life. And so this is put together out of compassion and love for someone that seems like they don't want to hear what I have to say. Yet they ask the question. They want to leave an open-ended question. You know people like that probably. It's a woe is me type thing. And I know that sounds like I'm chastising somebody, but it's not. I've been there. I know what people are doing in my life. The woe is me attitude doesn't go anywhere but bitterness. And it will destroy every part of your life. And so, let's just start here. This is Matthew chapter 18. This is, Jesus has established how He's going to build His church. And that was in Matthew 6, a couple chapters later. Still building on the same thing. He says, at the same time came the disciples unto Jesus, saying, who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven? And Jesus called a little child unto Him, and set him in the midst of them, and said, verily I say unto you, except ye be converted, and become as little children, ye shall not enter into the kingdom of heaven. Ye shall not enter into, just remember that, the kingdom of heaven. Whosoever therefore shall humble himself, the same is greatest in the kingdom of heaven. Do you know that I can grab my son and spank him, and I might not even had the right to do that? I thought he was doing something that he shouldn't. And do you know, in 5 seconds, he's forgiven me? Yourself as a little child. They are the greatest. And if we can be like that, we'll be the greatest. And people will point to us and say, that's who I want to go and be with. I want to hang out with that person because I know there's not going to be any judgment come from them, and I can even mess up and they're not going to hold it against me. I'm building on this. This is the same, that ye despise not one of these little ones. For I say unto you that in heaven their angels do always behold the face of my Father which is in heaven. It's nice to know we all have guardian angels, right? Because this isn't just talking about little children. This pictures, it morphs into children of God. For the Son of Man is come to save that which was lost. How think ye, if a man have 100 sheep, and one of them be gone astray, doth he not leave the 99, and goeth into the mountains, and seeketh that which is gone astray? And if so be that he find it, verily I say unto you, he rejoiceth more of that sheep than of the 99. Even so it is not the will of your Father which is in heaven that one of these little ones should perish. And we know this is a twofold teaching here. This is actual children and others that are called little ones that we'll see. Moreover, so that's the groundwork. And then it says, moreover, or added to, or this is like this, or this is how you can interpret what I just told you. Here's another way, or here's a teaching that will help you to understand what I just said. Moreover, if thy brother shall trespass against thee. See how it's changed from little physical children to brother. Trespass against thee. Go and tell him his fault between thee and him alone. If he shall hear thee, thou hast gained thy brother. But if he will not hear thee, then take with thee 1 or 2 more, that in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses every word may be established. And if he shall neglect to hear them, tell it unto the church. But if he neglect to hear the church, let him be unto thee as an heathen man and a publican. That doesn't mean to treat him like a heathen man and a publican. It means this is now how you know how to pray. This is not a brother. If he's rejecting forgiveness, if he's rejecting the reconciliation, then you know as it is you to reconcile this relation. That's all that means. People take that and they want to go and kick people out of the church, and I mean, sometimes that has to happen, but that's not the intent of that. It says, let him be unto thee as. That means you know how to pray now. You know how you need to pour it on even thicker, your forgiveness. Because if they're not wanting to reconcile, something's missing there. They haven't truly seen the love of God yet. Tell it unto the church. If they neglect to hear the church, let him be unto thee as an heathen man and a publican. Verily I say unto you, whatsoever ye shall bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatsoever ye shall loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. We'll talk more about that later. Verse 19, again I say unto you that if two of you shall agree on earth as touching anything that they shall ask, it shall be done for them of my Father which is in heaven. For where two or three are gathered together in my name, there am I in the midst of them. We read over, Paul talks about this very same thing when they have to the church that they don't want to. They said it's in the spirit of reconciliation that the church should pray together for that person. The church should keep the lines of communication open with that person. And if two or three of us in this church agree that that person should, or that God would get a hold of them and open their eyes, then God says, I'll do that. You just be patient and wait. But if two of you agree on that, I will do it. This sparks something in Peter. This sparks a question from a very prideful Peter. Remember Peter in his early days. He's still got this fleshly Jewish mindset. If somebody wrongs him, well, he's going to wrong them. Remember, he's the one that cut off the ear of Marcus that was trying to arrest Jesus. Jesus says, put up your sword. It's not time for that now. So Peter's like, whoa, I didn't sign up for this. I'm ready to take on the kingdom. I want to fight. So he's still in this mind frame right here. This sparks a question. He says, then came Peter to him and said, Lord, how oft shall my brother sin against me, and I forgive him? Jesus saith unto him, I say not unto thee until 7 times, but until 70 times 7. 70 times 7. What we just read in the preceding verses was a promise from God that the church will have assurance that they are pleasing God when they are upholding unity among brethren. All about going to the person that has offended you. Maybe they've stole something from you. Something like that. All that has to be done is an acknowledgement. I did that and I'm sorry. Okay, you're forgiven. I'll hold nothing against you. That's unity, you see. That's coming back. And then if it happens again and again and again, that's supposed to be our attitude. Every time. If they come and say, yes, I did it. I don't understand it. Well, you can put things in place where it doesn't happen anymore. You don't have to keep putting them in that position. But you always have the spirit of forgiveness. If they're coming to you saying, I did this. And you need to have the spirit of forgiveness even before they come. Yeah.
So you can say, I forgive you, but I'm not going to let you be in that position anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know if I'd say that or not. You can, but they need to know that they're equal to us.
But if they keep repeating
70 times 7.
So they can first steal 5 plates. Next time they'll come steal 5 more plates. Pretty soon then it's just...
Well, if they're asking for forgiveness and they're bringing your stuff back.
They have to return it. Is that what you're saying?
Well, restitution, I would think. That's a given.
Oh, I didn't,
Yeah, absolutely. It's if they are coming and asking for forgiveness. You know, it's not I'm taking this and I'm going to keep taking. I'm going to keep stealing. What if the next day they call you a bad name or something in a fit of rage? You know, it's something like, generally when something like that takes place and you forgive them and you restore them, you're not going to have that same trouble out of them again. You could later, but still, I mean, this is 70 times 7. You know what this number represents in the Scripture? It's not just 7 times. 7 times is enough. I mean, we look at the number 7. You know how I am with the Lord, all marked by 7-day time intervals that all have to do with the forgiveness of the Lord. What day He's going to forgive this and what day He's going to forgive that. The Feast of Pentecost, that's when the Gentiles were forgiven, brought into the family of God. You got the Day of Atonement coming when God's going to wipe away all the iniquities of Israel. All set up by these 7s. And He says, I say not until 7 times. 70 times 7. Forgiveness is in the Bible 7 times. That's not an accident. Forgive 56 times. That's 7 times 8. Forgiven 42 times. All multiples of 7. Jesus was the exact 77th generation from God that can be counted in Luke. On forgiveness. Every bit of it. He came right in the perfect time frame. At the fullness of time. That's the number 7, is the fullness. It's the fullness of things. And that's what God desires to do with all this He has done. It is to bring about His ultimate forgiveness. It's to bring about people that will come and say, I did this, I'm sorry. That's His whole plan. The reason it's done like this is because a lot of people will not come and ask for forgiveness until the tribulation falls, until the life falls apart. We can keep going with this. The name Jesus is in the Bible 980 times. You know what that is? Come on, Pammy. It's 70 times 7 twice. Remember the double portion He's going to pour out on Israel? 70 times 7 twice. 490 times in all the even books and 490 times in the odd books. Just in case you might think it's an accident, He split it up perfectly. That's really amazing because one side of that has in it. And it's still 490 perfectly and 490 perfectly. The phrase 7 times is in the Bible 35 times. That's 7 times 5. Listen to this guy, or look at this guy. And as he passed over before them and bowed himself to the ground, how many times? 7 times until he came near to his brother. This was Jacob coming in repentance to his brother Esau. 7 times marks his... And Esau forgave him, you remember? Said, and he braced his neck. Because Jacob came in forgiveness. He bowed 7 times. He said, I'm sorry. And the priest shall dip his finger in the blood and sprinkle of the blood 7 times before the Lord, before the veil of the sanctuary. This is again and again and again. Every time they wanted to purify anything in the temple, it was sprinkled with the blood of whatever was killed. Sometimes it was a dove, sometimes it was a goat, sometimes it was a lamb, a calf. Whatever the people could afford, they would bring to the priest, and he would sprinkle the altar, the veil, the table of showbread, whatever needed to be cleansed first. And Elisha sent a messenger unto him, saying, Go and wash in Jordan 7 times, and thy flesh shall come again to thee, and thou shalt be clean. Anybody know who this is talking about? Naaman. Naaman the Syrian gets leprosy. God gives him leprosy because he's filled up with pride. His iniquity is overwhelming him. And he thinks he's doing all this, that he's whipping all these people. And God says, listen, Buster, you're not doing that. You're my tool in my hand. Strikes him with leprosy and says, the only way I'm going to heal you is if you go and dip in Jordan. Does anybody know what Jordan means? Little one. Little one. Or you could say humble one. Remember how the little children says, if you become as little children and humble yourselves? Jordan is little one or humble one. You dip, and he went to dip, and dipping 7 times. Elisha said, well, keep your leprosy then. So he finally says, okay, it hurts too bad. I'll humble myself and I'll dip. I don't care who sees me acting like a fish out here. I'm going to dip 7 times. And what happened? This is what happened. Then went he down and dipped himself 7 times in the Jordan, according to the saying of the man of God, and his flesh came a little child. And he was clean. Oh, Naaman had a lot of things against a lot of people. This guy here, this is Nebuchadnezzar. Let his heart be changed from man's, and let a beast's heart be given unto him, and let 7 times pass over him. 7 years of Nebuchadnezzar, he became a beast. It says a beast's heart reigned over him. Remember, he grew claws like a homeless person. If the homeless person doesn't have a place to stay for a very long time, they start looking like, they start growing really tough skin. But he was 7 years, just like Israel's going to be in the tribulation. He's a picture of Israel, Nebuchadnezzar. And he gets his kingdom back. After that 7 years, he says, okay, it's you. You're the God. You're the one. You're full of mercy. What I'm going to do after 7 years of tribulation. See what this number has to do with? And then it keeps going. Listen to this. This here will be something that will help if you struggle with any of these things that I'm trying to help my friends with. He says, this is after he has come to himself. He says, and Daniel gives him an interpretation of all this and tells him what will happen. He says, this is the interpretation, O king, and this is the decree of the Most High, which has come upon my lord the king, that they shall drive thee from men, and they shall make thee to eat grass as oxen, and they shall wet thee with the dew of heaven, and 7 times shall pass over thee, till thou know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will. And whereas they commanded to leave the stump of the tree roots, he's still got the kingdom, just somebody's going to rule it while he's off being a beast. Thy kingdom shall be sure unto thee. After that thou shalt have known that the heavens do rule. Wherefore, O king, and break off thy sins by righteousness. This is what's going to fix your sin. This is what's going to bring you back to the kingdom. Righteousness. And thine iniquities by showing mercy to the poor. If it may be a lengthening of thy tranquility. You know what tranquility is? That's calm life. That's a peaceful life. calm and peaceful life. Tranquil. Here's another 7 times. The words of the Lord are pure words, as silver tried in a furnace of earth, purified 7 times. Thou shalt keep them, O Lord, thou shalt preserve them from this generation forever. He's talking about a wicked generation in the preceding verses. And he says, you're always going to have my words of promises. You're always going to know exactly what I've said to you. You're not going to have to wonder. You don't. You're not going to have to wonder about all of that. I will preserve them from this wicked generation. You will always be able to find my words. And in Daniel chapter 9, this is a 70 times 7 prophecy that has to do with forgiveness. It's all forgiveness. 70 weeks are determined upon thy finish the transgression, and to make an end of sins, and to make reconciliation for iniquity, and to bring in everlasting righteousness, and to seal up the vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. 70 weeks. That's 70 times 7. All having to do with forgiveness. This reason this is talking about this, because this is for Israel. He says, thy people, to Daniel. This is something that's going to take place. I mean, they've already received it if they want it, but part of them has been blind. So there's a mystery thing going on here. This has been fulfilled. Jesus finished the transgression. He died for the sins, but they rejected it. So there's this time frame that the Gentiles get to come in there. There's one of these weeks that hasn't been fulfilled yet. Physically. Spiritually, it's been fulfilled. Jesus went on to fulfill that perfectly. The full 70 weeks has been done. But it stops before the last week to give a gap for us. There's this 7-year period at the end that it's not going to make it like the Jews ever rejected Jesus. They're going to be pulled back. They're going to be put into our group. We'll all be one. We couldn't be in this group if it wasn't for them rejecting him, you see. The Gentiles wouldn't have a chance. You see how God's purpose had to be this way. Trust me, a holy God that's got all the wisdom in the world knew exactly how this had to be done for everybody that should be, and everybody that would choose him would choose him. Had to be done exactly this way. His ways are above our ways. But you know, the further I go, the more I understand his ways. Because when I experience things in life, it's how I interact with people. The way that he does. The way he forgives people. The more that I put myself in that place and forgive them the way that he did, the more at peace that I am. The more of everything, it seems like my head, tranquility. Therefore is the kingdom of heaven likened unto a certain king, which would take account of his servants. This is right after Peter asked him, how many times should I forgive? Then he gives this story to show us. Therefore is the kingdom of heaven likened unto a certain king, which would take account of his servants. And when he had begun to reckon, one was brought unto him which owed him 10,000 talents. But for as much as he had not to pay, his Lord commanded him to be sold, and his wife and children, and all that he had, and payment to be made. The servant therefore fell down and worshipped him, saying, Lord, have patience with me, and I will pay thee all. Then the Lord of that servant was moved with compassion, and loosed him. Remember, whatsoever thou shalt loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. You want to open up the windows of heaven and start the blessings to flow, you better start forgiving. And loosed him and forgave him the debt. But the same servant went out, the one that was forgiven all that debt, he went out and found one of his fellow servants. 100 pence, that's like $1. And he laid hands on him and took him by the throat, saying, Pay me that thou owest. And his fellow servant fell down at his feet and besought him, saying, Have patience with me, and I will pay thee all. And he would not, but went and cast him into prison till he should pay the debt. So when his fellow servants saw what was done, they were very sorry, and came and told unto their Lord all that was done. Then his Lord, after that he had called him, said unto him, O thou wicked servant, I forgave thee all that debt, because thou desirest me. It. Shouldest not thou also have had compassion on thy fellow servant, even as I had pity on thee? And his Lord was wroth, and delivered him to the tormentors, till he should pay all that was due unto him. So likewise shall my heavenly Father do also unto you, if ye from your hearts forgive not every one his brother their trespasses. Delivered to the tormentors. What's this mean? Matthew chapter 8, verse 6, and saying, Lord, my servant lieth at home sick of the palsy, grievously tormented. Here's another. And his fame went throughout all Syria, and they brought unto him all sick people that were taken with divers diseases and torment, devils, and those which were lunatic, and those that had the palsy, and he healed them. This is where torment in this world comes from. Unforgiveness. Sometimes we don't even know that we're harboring it. Sometimes we just need to forgive the world. We think the world owes us something. It's dealt us a bad hand. Sometimes we just need to forgive. Just say, I forgive. I don't have anything against anybody. And live in that spirit of forgiveness. I think that's when you can still be sick and not look sick. Because in this world, we're going to be sick. But to be sick and not look sick, that's something. To be sick. Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, and cometh down from the Father of lights, with whom is no variableness, neither shadow of turning. There's a window open. If we don't have the window open, though, if we have bound something on earth, it's bound up there. Verily I say unto you, whatsoever ye shall bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatsoever ye shall loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. Then the Lord of that servant was moved with compassion and loosed him and forgave him the debt. This is Matthew 16. Before he started all this was the very beginning. He said, I'm going to tell you the keys of the kingdom. You want the keys to the kingdom? You want to unlock that window in the heaven? Hey, any of you ever lose your keys? Anybody ever lose your keys? Boat keys. Ain't that bad? Ain't that horrible? Especially when you ain't got one to go get it. Do you know we can lose the keys to the kingdom? We can get going along and forget that we need to be forgiving people's littlest thing. Jesus says, whatever judgment ye judge shall be measured to you again. You're holding this little bit against somebody, I'm going to hold this little bit against you. Just go ahead and open the door and let the windows of heaven flow down on you. Forgive anything that you can possibly think of that you would have to forgive. Forgive it. Let's pray. Lord, thank you for this tonight. Help me to remember this. As Paul said, he knew that he was on the verge of falling any minute. He could be a castaway if he got iniquity in his heart, if he got to feeling like he was getting a raw deal. I don't ever want to feel that way. Whatever you give me in this life is more than I deserve. And I thank you for it. Help us all be that way and to be good forgivers and open up the windows of heaven. Thank you.